everybody. I'm Tom Vasel, and I am excited to be here. 3 great pieces of news for you all. First of all, we have a contest going on right now. This episode is sponsored by Pandasars Games, and we have a contest for 3 more copies of Umbra Via, which, if you go back a couple weeks, you can see us playing live, and in fact, I reviewed it just this past week. This is a new, different contest than our previous ones. It's available to people in the USA, Canada, and Australia. All you have to do to enter this contest is to email us at contest@dicetower.com and put in the subject line the word Blooms, B-L-O-O-M-S, Blooms. And then in the body, put what player color isn't shown on the cover of this game. Answer that question, and also answer the question of what is your address in case you win. So you can always, as time goes by, once we contact our winners, we'll let you know if you win. You can check to see who's won various contests at dicetower.com/contests. All right, well, that's one good piece of news. Another good piece of news is if you go to BoardGameGeek.com right now, which is a great database about board games, if you go there, you can see on the front page the Jack Vasel Memorial Fund auction. So the Jack Vasel Memorial Fund auction is an auction that raises money for the Jack Vasel Memorial Fund, which is a charity I started in honor of my son who died 10 years ago. And the money for this goes to gamers in need. When a gamer is in need, if they have a financial catastrophe in their life or some catastrophe that needs money, always tell, if you know someone like that, tell them to go to jackvasel.org and contact us there. But one of the ways we raise money for this is through this annual auction. You can help 3 different ways. You can go in there and you can add things to this auction. The stuff there, folks, is amazing. Companies have shown up, individuals have shown up. There's all kinds of really cool things. You can go in there and bid, because all the money goes to the Jack Vasel Memorial Fund, or you can just tell people about it. And the more eyeballs, the better. So really cool stuff there, folks. I mean, you want professionals painting your miniatures. You want a whole set of games from people, promo items, all kinds of things you can find there. It's exciting and it's cool, and it's up for quite a bit of time, so you can do that. The third thing that's exciting news is in 1 week from today, the Spring Spectacular begins. I have the schedule almost made up. We mentioned last week we're going to be playing Marvel United with the new X-Men. So we'll be showing that off there. But we have all kinds of things happening. We're going to be doing our top 10 games everyone should play at least once. So that's going to be going up. Well, Mike DeLisio is going to be doing his top 50 games, solo games. So you can see that. We're going to be playing all sorts of games, some fun party games, some serious games, different things, and we'll be posting a full schedule of everything soon. We're still putting it together, but keep an eye out. We'll post it on Facebook and Board Game Geek and on our website when that schedule is made up. We're working on that today. And we'll be showing off our new marble ramp for the new Shoots and Marbles. So that's exciting. So a lot of cool things happening in the Spring Spectacular. And if you like our contest that we're running right now, we're going to be running many contests during that whole thing. Lots of live stuff, so come back and see us there. All right, well, let's get started here today. Here we go.
Hi, it's Tarrant.
And Stella from Meeple University. Social deduction, like werewolf. Do you always play as it should be?
Yeah, I think, one of the things I've found with werewolf since coming back into the hobby a few years ago is it is very much the social deduction game. It will take hours and it will be led by a moderator, but it was never the way I was first taught it. I think the first time I played this it was Mafia at the time. I don't know if it had ever been rethemed as werewolf at that point. And we just played it with playing cards to say who was Mafia and who was not. And there were no special roles. And really, it was just a storytelling game. Whoever was the first one, whoever was eliminated became the new narrator. And it was their job to come up with an amusing story for the overnight death, essentially. And it became...
It's a different game.
Yeah, it just became a storytelling game of who can come up with the funniest things to say about how the deaths happened in the Mafia world. And you could I mean, you could do that in the werewolf world, but I guess it doesn't lend itself to the theme as much because a werewolf is a large beast. It kills to eat, whereas when you're in the mafia theme,
It's quite funny.
yeah, you can go into crazy spy mode and just go a little chaotic.
So that is it. What is your experience playing werewolf or mafia? And we are on Meeple University on YouTube and also on the Dice Tower. See you next time.
By the way, if you want to play werewolf with the different people who love playing werewolf, you can play it on Zoom, and you just go to our Dice Tower Werewolf Facebook group. All right, so I'm going to do a little series once in a while where I talk about small annoyances. This is Sleeping Gods. This is a fantastic game. We've talked about it a lot. Small annoyances is the very epitome of first world problems, things that are slightly annoying but not that big of a deal. So this is a pretty cool box. I'm pretty happy. I got all the expansions inside Sleeping Gods. In fact, I'll be reviewing the expansions this week. So I take the lid off, blah, 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 and then I'm gonna put the lid back on, and it doesn't fit. This is a box that looks square, but is not. How annoying is that? Now here's the thing. I bet some of you don't think that's annoying because some of you think the box should always be orientated so that it fits. When you look at the back of the box, the writing is the same as the front. I personally don't care about that at all. And I do say that when you're putting the box back and you're like, why is it not fitting? Because it looks like it should fit. I couldn't think of a smaller annoyance, frankly. But we'll talk about more in the future. But what do you think? You know, is it annoying when you try to put the box out like when they're almost square? There are some that are really close. And I'm always curious, what made the company decide to not just make it completely square? That's just an odd thing to me. Also, does it bother you? It doesn't bother me. Does it bother you when the shrink-wrap copy of the game comes with the lid on upside down? That happens a lot. It doesn't bother me at all when that happens, but I know it bothers some people. So, there you go. That is my small annoyance of the day. Let's keep going.
Hey everybody, this is Ron back with another affordable board game. Today I am going to talk about Point Salad. Point Salad is a game designed by Molly Johnson, Robert Melvin, and Sean Stankovic, published by AEG, plays 2 to 6 players, ages 8 and up, with a 15 to 30 minute playtime, and has a $20 MSRP. Score the most points by building the best salad with a combination of vegetables based on the double-sided scoring cards you draft. To set it up, without looking at the point side, count out or remove a certain number of cards based on the number of players. Shuffle all remaining cards and create 3 roughly equal draw piles with point card size face up. Flip over 2 cards from each draw pile and place them in a column below the pile. This creates the veggie market below the piles. Randomly choose a starting player and you're ready. In a typical turn, you will draft either 1 point card from any draw pile or 2 veggie cards from anywhere in the market. Additionally, you may choose to flip over any of your point cards and turn them into a veggie card. You can tell which veggie is on the other side of the point card by looking at the corners of the card and observing the veggie symbol. Once you have drafted your cards, refill the veggie market by drawing cards from the corresponding draw piles in each column, filling any empty slots. Flip the cards over from the point side to the veggie side as they enter the market. If one of the draw piles of point cards runs out, split the largest pile roughly in half and move the bottom half to replace the empty pile, ensuring the point card on top of the largest pile does not move. Once the market refill has been completed, play continues with the next player to the left. The gameplay continues clockwise until every card is drafted from both the veggie market and the point piles. Score your veggie cards based on the point cards you have drafted, noting that each veggie card can be used to score each point card you have so it scores multiple times. Whoever has the most points is the winner. This is a great little card drafting game and set collection game with an accessible theme that's fun for the whole family. I highly recommend it. And that was Point Salad. I hope you folks enjoy, and until next time, see you later.
Hey guys, Anthony here from Board Game Dads. We're going to rattle off a bunch more picks here. Yes, we're on the Dice Tower. All right, favorite traditional game, Scrabble, easy. Favorite publisher, the most games I think I own are from Yellow, so I'm going to go with them. Favorite convention, PAX Unplugged, cannot wait to go back. Favorite theme, I guess, is fantasy. I had a hard time picking this one, to be honest. Favorite board? Yes, AJ. Tokaido is my favorite looking board. Favorite player color right now is purple. Can you say purple?
Purple.
Favorite game with upgrades is Wingspan. My wife got me some very awesome upgrades for that. Favorite snack to eat while gaming is pretzels. Not messy at all, not sticky. No harm can really come of them. Next we go to favorite game that I'm good at. I guess I'm kind of good at Splendor. Someone didn't want to play with me a second time because I beat them the first time, so there's that. We move on to favorite category. We're going to go with the roll and write category. Currently our favorite, I think, in this household. My favorite board game store is my local friendly game store. That is Time Warp Comics and Games in Cedar Grove, New Jersey. And we're taking a look at a game about gardening. Harvest Dice. Love it. Roll and write about making a garden. Favorite game that's based on a book. This recently climbed in my list of types of games like this, and that's Council of Verona, which I enjoy quite a bit. And we'll move on to a game that is heavy strategy. AJ, what's a heavy strategy game that Daddy likes? Tapestry, you said? Yeah, that sounds good. Favorite game has monsters. This is easily Horrified for me. And last one, favorite collectible game. I don't really have any of those, although I have to say, I guess I'm currently collecting all the Villainous expansions because I tend to have them all. That's it for today, guys. I'll see you next time. Happy breakfast. Goodbye.
Well, now you know how to get into all his passwords, because if someone answers these questions online, not with board games, but I didn't think about that till someone mentioned it the other day. They'll ask you a bunch of questions like, what was the name of your first dog? And all these questions. You're giving people answers to what may be password protected questions. So my first dog was called Uvasha. So try to write that one down. Anyhow, all right, what's coming from the Dice Tower this week? So we have today, later at noon, I'll be doing my Q&A, and Z at 10 o'clock today we'll be doing his What's Happening. So come back and join him for that. Join me for live Q&A. Lots of different reviews going up this week, and I have the wrong schedule open. Here we go. Me and the girls will be reviewing the new version of Carcassonne Hunters and Gatherers. I'll be taking a look at Crimson Company, Twisty Little Passages, Black Swan, Here to Slay, the Tea Turtle game, By the Vote, Liftoff, the Whatnot Cabinet, Overboss, and like I said earlier, the Sleeping Gods expansions. Also, we'll be doing a Four Squares look at Cryo. So hopefully you all enjoy that. Also, we have our Shoots and Marbles tomorrow, the last one before the new ramp, like possibly the last one ever. You will not understand that till you see it. Don't miss it, okay? Because I can't explain it, but I may regret what we're doing tomorrow. And we got some previews going up this week, some how to plays. Later on this week, I'll be talking about my top 10 action drafting games. And we got a Catch-a-Palooza going up this week about Nexus Ops. So there's lots of cool content coming your way. And then again, next Monday is the Spring Spectacular. So looking forward to that. So that is what's happening this week. Let's keep moving.
Hi everybody,
Hello, we are Ryan and Bethany.
from Ryan and Bethany Board Game Reviews.
Today we're talking about Clank Legacy Acquisitions Incorporated. This massive box is a legacy version of the game Clank. If you're unfamiliar with that, it is a dungeon crawling deck builder game. You're trying to dive down as far as you can, get as much treasure, and get out before the dragon wakes up and kills everybody. This is the legacy version of this game. It introduces all those campaign elements. The narrative carries on from story to story.
Speaking about a campaign, I kind of feel like sometimes our health is sort of like that. It's not a one-shot thing, right? You know, health is a journey and not a destination. You know that Ryan and I like to talk about what we're trying to do to achieve better health sometimes. And what I really want to do is encourage me and encourage everybody out there that it's okay if you fail today, because you can just try again tomorrow, and you can try again tomorrow because it is a journey. Even if it takes 60 tomorrows, you will get there. Trust me, 2020
or 365, you know what I'm saying?
2020 was rough for me health-wise, and I just keep trying every single day, and it's finally getting better. So I just want to encourage all of you to do the same.
In Clank Legacy, if you want to just play Clank, if you want to go down there, get treasure, and come back up, play Clank. If you want a narrative experience where you're exploring play Clank Legacy. And when you're playing this, don't miss out on any opportunity to go after those story parts of it. You want to get as much plot as possible. It was hilarious stuff going on in this game. It was still serious. The gameplay was serious, but the narrative was funny.
Yes.
And at the same time, you really want to milk it for all it's worth. Go after every single storyline, every plot point that you can.
I really enjoyed this. It was a great and fantastic experience. It's one of those things that you're like sad that it's over because you kind of wish you could do it again because it was just really enjoyable. Well, everybody, if you want to hear more from us, you can find us on Facebook or YouTube. We are Ryan and Bethany Board Game Reviews. This is Ryan. I'm Bethany. Hoping you have a happy, healthy breakfast.
Bye, everybody.
Guys.
Hey there everyone, it's Jen, the board game librarian, flipping some pages and pushing some cubes with my segment From the Page to the Table, where I pair books and board games together and sometimes a ginger jerk appears. I don't know where he's been lately. He's camera shy all of a sudden. There are very few times when I look at a game and I do not have a book ready for it. There are times when I have to get a book in and read something that goes along with it. But when I'm gonna do the game first. This one is The Few and the Cursed by Rock Manor Games. We essentially have a Western adventuring quest game where you are going around on the map and you are collecting things, gathering gear, looking to do certain missions of sorts and to kill some baddies. Gotta kill some baddies. And they're mystical baddies too. They're not just all people out there. When I saw this game, it completely reminded me of a series. We'll get to that momentarily, but I was really impressed with the gameplay on this game. We don't have a super lot of Western games in our collection, and I loved the flow of the game, and there's a little bit of storytelling that goes on with it as well. I thought of 2 players, it was very snappy. So what is your guess? I'm gonna pause. Okay. The Dark Tower, Gunslinger. Woo! It just seemed like such a natural pairing, the two of these things. Stephen King's, his pinnacle of his writing, some people consider The Dark Tower and The Gunslinger, Roland. And in this one, we have Roland's journey from being kind of a gunslinger in training to full-out gunslinger. But love this pairing together. Love, 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 love it. That's all for this week. Happy breakfast.
All right, I wanted to talk a little bit about the seals of approval / seals of excellence that the Dice Tower gives out. Now, this is not a new thing. This is something that we've talked about in the past here on the show. So just to reiterate, a Dice Tower seal of approval is a 7 or higher, and a seal of excellence is an 8.5 or higher. If you look at what we do, we give out way fewer seals of excellence than we give out seals of approval, hopefully. We pick 8.5 because that's a much harder thing to attain, and very few games get that. You can go back and count the numbers, and there just isn't that many that are given out. And I like that. And that's not to even say that's bad for seal of approvals. I'll talk how much I really like a game, and then it will get a seal of approval, and people say, well, how is that the case? You said it was so good. I did. A seal of approval should mean something. So a game that's just, it's okay, I don't want that to get the seal of approval. All right, fine. We've talked about that before. But here's the fact of the matter. I've worked really hard, folks, over the past few years to turn the Dice Tower into not the Tom Vasel show. I still do probably the most reviews on the channel. I'm still the face of the Dice Tower to some degree, but I'm trying to move that on because of a couple of things. What if something ever happens to me? And also, I'm not the only opinion on games. There's games I'm not a big fan of. So I've been striving, and I've been doing this for almost a decade now, to bring other people on, to hear other voices. And I don't care if they highly disagree with me. I want to get along with the person in general, but they can really disagree with me on games. And I think that's fantastic. I don't have a tier system here. If someone wants to do reviews for the Dice Tower, I look at them and say, good. These are good reviews. I like your reviews. I like your thought patterns. you can review for the Dice Tower. That's the way it's got to be. If I'm going to trust someone to put a review on the Dice Tower, then I'm also going to trust them to put a seal of approval or excellence on something. Now, I talked to, we have a reviewer guidelines document for reviewers, and in it says seals of excellence should be something that's rare, and things like that. But at the end of the day, if somebody says a game is better or worse, I'm going to accept that, even if it's highly different to my own opinions. Now, so there's a couple things that come out of that. One of those is recently we've been doing a lot more Foursquare reviews. Foursquare reviews are where 4 people from the Dice Tower get together and review a game. Occasionally, we'll have differences of opinions. By occasionally, I mean almost every time. We'll have differences of opinion on where it will go. So the game gets the seal of approval or seal of excellence of the highest person. And there's been some pushback online about that. Let's say, for example, I give it a 7 and everyone else gave it a 6, and we give it a seal of approval. And you say, well, that doesn't make any sense, because if you average them out, it's going to be less than 7. But we don't average them out. And here's the thing, folks. We've been doing this for a decade. You just haven't noticed before now, because we just didn't used to do 4 people. So the same game, same situation, we play it, 3 people give it a 6, I give it a 7, I did the review by myself. I said it's a good game, I enjoy it, we give it the seal of approval, no one blinks. But because I bring in those extra voices, now suddenly that seal of approval no longer means anything. Now, that's one of the disadvantages to bringing in more voices. One other disadvantage when we do the Foursquare reviews is that sometimes we talk about the flaws of a game so much, you're like, did they not like the game at all? But that's just because those are discussion points. But the seal of approval, seal of excellence, if one person likes it, then it can get that. And I feel really strongly about this, that is an important thing to do. We're not doing the averages here. We don't do the averages, because if we did the averages, I would just go to Board Game Geek, or I would go to Amazon and do their best-selling games. If someone here thinks it deserves that, then I'm going to give it to that I'm going to give it to that game. And it's because I trust that particular person, and I trust everybody. And this is in regards to who that person is at all. I'm not going to discriminate against people. I'm not going to say there's tiers. At the top of the pyramid is Tom Vasel, and right below him is Z Garcia and Eric Summer, his henchman. And then below that is the Delicio Factor and the Candidate Can. And then below that is everybody else. And then at the very bottom, those annoying kids. No. If I feel that I can bring my kids on here to do a review of me, and they give a seal of approval and I don't, then it gets a seal of approval. And I think that's legit, because to say otherwise, you're basically saying their opinion doesn't matter. Then why watch the video? If you don't, so it's like that one number is more important than everything that the person said. I bring my kids on, who, by the way, have played more games than many of you. But, you know, and if they say that they like a game, then we give it a seal of approval. There's no money involved in seals of approvals or excellence at all. If people want to put them on their boxes, they can do so for free. We don't charge anything for that. And I would love to give every game a seal of approval of excellence, but somebody in the Dice Tower staff has to do so. One person. Someone says it should do the bookstore approach to approval seals. No, and the reason I don't want to do that is because, again, I don't want to differentiate it. I don't want companies arguing over, I want Tom's seal, I want Z's seal. Also, that doesn't mean anything to people. I want the seal to mean something when people see it that says, hey, the Dice Tower approved it. Who won the Dice Tower? Who cares? It's somebody from the Dice Tower did it. So, all right, well, now I started the name of a new show here. Anyhow, the seal of approval, seal of excellence, I feel very proud of those. I look at those and I think that's a good set of games. I don't agree with all of the ones personally, but it's just like the Dice Tower Awards. I don't always agree with the games that win there, but I realize that some people like them and that they're good games. There are games here in the Dice Tower studio that will not get a seal of approval from anybody. There are a lot of those games. I mean, there is a metric ton of those games. I know that there's a metric ton of those games because we moved all the boxes, you know, that nobody's going to give them to. So it's not like everything can get it from this regard. But I think it's important that when I deal with my teenage daughters or when I deal with a reviewer on the Dice Tower, whoever they may be, to say that their opinion carries weight. And if I say they can't give out a seal, then I'm saying my opinion has more weight than theirs, which you could argue, oh, Tom, you played more games and yada, yada, but I need to start somewhere. And if I think someone's good enough to be reviewing on the Dice Tower, then I think they're good enough to give out the seal of approval or excellence also.
This is a segment where we take a look at a board game based on an IP, and I tell you if the IP and the mechanisms fit together. Today we're looking at 5 Minute Marvel, which is a board game based on 5 Minute Dungeon. Now, normally what I would tell you would be a game where they already have an existing game and they slap another property on it. That is not a good use of an IP. If the game would have fit that IP, then I think it should have been there from the beginning. It normally does not work. Here, I'm going to be middle of the road a little bit. So while the game is real time and you're fighting these bosses, these bad guys from the universe, these villains, you're going to be playing icons down. And that doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but I guess it's a fight where you're punching and you're jumping and you're shielding, and I guess you can close your eyes and squint just a little bit and see it there. But I think this is one of the rare examples where it actually does work. I think it's a very strong between fighting the bad guys, and the mechanisms to fight is just matching icons, and that's fine. It could be rolling dice, it could be a lot of things that we've seen used. But you do progress through the villains as you're going through, and going from this over here, gotta go fight this bad guy, I go over here and fight that guy, and there's minions jumping out, and you got to take care of those. And each of the superheroes has a different power that you can utilize during the game. I think it all works really well to come into a package together, and the IAP and the mechanisms fit okay. If you want to say just a comic book fight, that little aspect, that little slither, I think this does fine. It's just as good as any game that would have you with variable powers, dice rolling, etc. But in this case, you're flapping down cards as fast as you can go to match icons. I think it works pretty well. This is really a family favorite for us. I think that it works great. We're Marvel fans. I think that the IP works okay. I think I'd probably give it a 6. Not the most thematic experience you're having, but it's real time and you're going through those fights, and I think that works just fine. So this one is one I would say if you haven't taken a look at, that maybe you should. And that's 5 Minute Marvel.
Hello everyone, it's Clara, I'm back, and I'm going to be switching up my board game breakfast segment. I'm going to be comparing physical to digital board games. And I'm doing this because I love physical board games, but I don't always have the money or the space to buy them, and the last 12 months I've been playing a lot of digital board games, as many of us have. I'm going to start by talking about one of my favourite board games of all time, Seasons. So with Seasons, you're card drafting, you're rolling dice, and you're building a massive old engine. It's just a glorious game. I've owned it for about 8 years, and I've played it with 3 and 4 people. It's quite a big teach, but for me this game shines at 2 players. It's a 2-player card game. I love it. So I was really excited and surprised to see that it was on Board Game Arena when I started using it. And that's really good. So I said it is a big engine builder. Yes, it takes up so much table space. It's even with 2 players, it's a lot of table space. And then the other thing is it's a big old engine in a second way, in that, lots of things happen. Towards the end of the game, you trigger this, that causes that to happen, and then this is cheaper, but that rotates, and then you can use this, and then the number of times I've been, through my next turn and been like, oh, I forgot to do this, or I overpaid for that. There's a lot of bookkeeping in this game, and so a digital version takes care of all that. It just does it automatically. It adds everything you're supposed to get and reduces the costs of everything. And that's really lovely, and it means that, a 2-player game with me and my friend, it goes from an hour to 30 to 40 minutes. It saves us that much time. At the same time, I love rolling those big old dice. I love the gorgeous artwork on this. And for me, this is a game that I can't wait to play the physical copy again. It's always going to be physical. I'm glad it's digital, but for me, it's a physical keeper. So, curious, any other Seasons fans out there? Let me know in the comments below, and until next time, bye!
All right, folks, today we're going to be taking a look at some stuff from Momo Monster. You can find their Etsy store. We have a link in the description of this video. And so we're just going to look at a couple things from them today. Here we have this mat, and this is for Arkham Horror, the card game. Now, the mat here is It's like neoprene, but it's not nearly as thick as many of those mats are, which is fine. I really like this photo. I don't care one whit about the game. I'm going to actually give this mat to Z to see if he wants to use it. Has this nice area here, has these spots. This is for the 2-player version. And if you just want to play with one person, then we have the other side. So this is pretty cool. Now it's big. You'll notice I have a pretty big table here, and this mat is barely fitting on the table. But you do have a lot of room to put stuff out here, I guess, if you want to. Maybe you could even fold part of it inside itself. Maybe if there was one thing, I might have brought this down a bit. But man, I love the picture of that night sky and everything. That looks really cool. The other thing I like to show you here, from the same company, are little mats here. You can use these for Gloomhaven, Jaws of the Lion, also known as Can't Hit a Rock game. Too soon. It's been a year. Anyhow, so here you can see a spot for the discard pile, lost cards, and then different spots to put any equipment that you might get. I never seem to have enough equipment to fill up a whole thing like this. But that being said, I think these look really nice. They are double-sided, but they're pretty much the same thing on both sides of them. So I have several here if you're playing with more than 2 players. So anyway, those are some mats. I think they're cool and worth checking out. Again, the link to them is in the description. Let's keep moving.
Hey y'all, time for supper.
Yeah, all right. I just gotta finish pushing this building. What the heck? Oh, dang. A few weeks ago, I was here talking about ancient European monasteries. In fact, ancient monasteries were See? And I talked about how some of those monasteries still produce and sell beer to fund their yearly operations. Many of those monasteries still use the sale of beer to fund their yearly operations. You see, I am a man of my word. Now, I'm sure that at some point in there you were asking yourself, well, hang on a second, where do all the hops come from? And boy, am I glad that you asked, because the answer is Hallertau. Hallertau is a region of Bavaria, Germany that produces approximately 24% of the world's hops. It is also the setting for the newest big box farming game by legendary designer Uwe Rosenberg. Now, I don't really have time to cover all the rules here, but basically you'll spend 6 rounds of this game trying to squeeze every last drop out of your fields, your sheep, and your bricks to try and generate as many resources as you can. So you can turn right around and spend those resources to upgrade these buildings, at least until you run them into these boulders, which act like arrestor cables to prevent players from sliding a building right off the board in turn 1. Mr. Tom Vasel recently reviewed this game on the Dice Tower, and it earned his seal of approval. But he mentioned that he didn't get a chance to play it in solo mode, so I wanted to take a quick moment to mention that the solo mode is awesome. In fact, let's start with the rules. They're all of 55 words for the solo game. I bet you I can read it all without taking a single breath. Let's try. The solo game follows exactly the same rules as the multiplayer game. Simply take one turn after the other. Your goal is to score at least 100 victory points. Scores over 100 victory points are considered extraordinary if you play the no card. Oh, that was a bad idea. But playing this game solo isn't. It's just the same as the competitive game, but with a solo score to beat. Whoa. Okay, now depending on player count, the top row of actions in one or more of the quadrants of this board get cleared out. But in a solo game, it's only one quadrant. That means you've got to very carefully pick your actions each round to try and min-max each one of your turns. Luckily, without another player in the way, you can plot your way through each one of those actions very carefully and not have to worry about what's still available to you later on in the round. But that means that this game is just as strategic and complex at 1 player as it is at, say, 4. And getting to that 100-point score will not be easy. Alright, well that's about all I got time for, but listen, there's a lot more I could tell you about this game, so for the first time, I'm putting a longer review out on my YouTube channel. Check it out if you'd like to see more about Hallertau. Until then, I got some work to do.
Now, I think that I want to know how Mike thinks the rock is photoshopped, and I'm trying to figure out why the rock is next to his house. Like, did he put that rock there? Is that a styrofoam rock? Is that rock next to his house? And he thought, convenient, I can use this as an example. This is really bugging me. There's shadows on the rock, though. That's really good Photoshop if that's the case. Anyhow, I don't know. All right, folks. Well, it is 9:35. In 25 minutes, Z will be coming on with What's Happening, playing another board game app for you all. And then I'll be back here at noon answering your questions. So I saw some people had questions in here. that's the place to ask them, and I'll talk to you then. Lots of cool things coming up. We are full board this week with content, but we're also prepping for next week, the Spring Spectacular. Until next time, though, I'm Tom Vasel, and you've been watching the Dice Tower Board Game Breakfast. See you next time.
Thanks for watching Board Game Breakfast. Tune in each week for your daily dose of gaming goodness with Tom Vasel and all the gang. Until next time, I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching Board Game Breakfast, a Dice Tower production.